Overtime!
All right, guys, I think I'm in trouble. As of today, I have no fewer than a dozen projects out here in the garage in various states of non-working, and it's time to do something about this. So I've got projects out here that I haven't even showed you yet. I'm backed up on pickup videos, and yeah, I don't know if you can tell, but there are a dozen games, a dozen machines out here, and really more than a dozen. So we've got this one right here that I haven't told you about yet. This is a Golden Tee 99 that I'm restoring for a friend. I got two more machines right here that I haven't told you about yet. This back here is a second Robotron I got to do something with. Obviously, this one right here, you can tell, is the Joust, my main project. We have the Armor Attack that needs a little bit of cosmetic work. The Ms. Pac-Man that I'll get to as soon as the stencils come in to redo the stenciled artwork. Down there, underneath all that junk, is a Moon Patrol cocktail that I recently picked up. Behind it, under that bin with the speaker panel right there, is a, what is it? A Missile Command cocktail. Back over here to the left of that is another project I recently picked up that I'm not going to tell you about yet. Oh, it almost never ends. So back over here, we've got, this is the back of the NBA Jam. We'll talk about that in a second. We've got the change machine over here, and we've got some other stuff that I'm not ready to talk about yet. So something needs to be done before I am just buried under these things. And you know, my loving, wonderful wife said something to me the other day that really took me by surprise. So, you know, some guys kind of go nuts in this hobby, and it can be a strain on them financially. It can be a strain on their relationships and space and all that sort of stuff. Unfortunately, you know, I don't have any of those problems. Not that I'm loaded with money, but I get these games for dirt cheap. You know, typically less than what you pay for an arcade 1-up or something like that, or less than like a home console system, mostly because I buy them broken and falling apart. But my wife said something the other day to me that blew me away. She said, "Hey, why don't you move some more games out of the garage into the house?" And I couldn't believe it, right? So, you know, a lot of spouses and significant others want this stuff out of their house, right, if it's taken over. But my wife wants me to bring more games into the house because she knows how much the kids love playing them and how much I enjoy spending time with them, you know, that sort of thing. So, yeah, and she actually suggested the NBA Jam, which is why it's pulled out over here. So she suggested the NBA Jam because the kids have been playing this a lot and they really like it. And, you know, she knows it's not violent or anything. So, yeah, and there's a little bit of work we need to do before we bring it out into the house. Mostly cosmetic stuff. The kids have been playing it a lot out in the garage, but we're going to move it into another room in the basement that's currently set up as the kids' playroom. My main arcade in the house is my office, which is a smaller room. So we've got a little bit of cosmetic work I want to do with it. One main thing is I want to clean up the control panel, which is a bit dirty and messy. And if you remember when I unloaded this from the truck, I noticed there was a little bit of body damage, like the wood separating, splitting, so we're going to address that too. So first things first, I want to take the whole control panel box off of the cabinet. It's sort of this big huge thing is a separate box. We can take that off. We'll take the plexi cover off, the plexiglass sort of protector, clean it all up. We'll take all the buttons and joysticks off, make sure those are nice and clean. We're going to pull the monitor out just to make it easier to get down to the basement, and that'll also help us to access the splitting wood that's right there. So first things first, let's go ahead and open this sucker. And to get the control panel open, there's two latches on either side on the inside. If I can find them. There's one. And most games are like this. The control panel will open up if you reach through the coin door and undo a couple of latches. And then it should just open up like so. Let me bring you in here so you can really see what I'm doing. We've got a few connections we need to disconnect, and fortunately these are all color-coded, so I don't have to worry about which buttons go to which. These are thinner pins though, so I just want to be careful not to bend them. All right, I think each of these goes to a different player's controls. Red, yellow, green, and orange. All right, so those are all disconnected. We're free and clear there. There's a little wing nut here that holds a ground strap. Not entirely sure what that ground strap is grounding, because that bolt doesn't really seem to go anywhere, but it'll hang us up if we don't disconnect it. We've got 4 bolts, bigger bolts that kind of hold everything here, and these are just hand loose or hand tight, because I knew I was going to have to do this eventually. Otherwise I would come out with a socket wrench or something like that. So we'll get these 4 bolts right off, and then the whole box, this whole control panel box, will just come right off. Obviously makes the whole thing a heck of a lot lighter. This is really a beast of a cabinet. This 4-player 90s Midway, which was actually owned by Williams at the time. Midway got bought out, I think in the late 80s. And then, like I mentioned this before, and Williams continued to operate, I think mostly their video game division under the Midway name, and then made pinball machines under both the Williams and Bally brands. All right, move that over here. All right, and now the whole thing will come right off like so. Nice and easy. We'll put it to the side for now. This is sort of where the wood is splitting a little bit. You can see it's coming off like this. There's some nails or whatever that got pulled apart. So we're gonna squeeze all this back together. We'll put some glue in, and I'll get some nails in there to hold it together. Think about the best way to attack that, because it's definitely close quarters. I want to pull the PCB tray and the monitor out. And you've seen me do part of this before. All right, there's the PCB down there. And yeah, so we turn this little lock sideways, which lets us take this panel cover off, put that to the side, and theoretically we can just pull the PCB tray out, but it's connected in a bunch of spots, and you know, it's kind of funny. I guess I could reach in and kind of disconnect them, but it's a ways to go. So I'm going to come around through the back door. We'll take the back door off, and I'll disconnect some of these connections from the PCB on this back side. Is this key? Yeah, it's the same. Okay. Back door's off. Can you see me? Hey, I'm back here. So I'm going to disconnect. This is the video cable. And what else needs to be disconnected? This is the power supply. Okay. And what else? This is the speaker, I believe. All right. And then I think the rest can come off by itself that way. Just tuck this in there so it doesn't get hung up on anything. All right. And yeah, now this is just hanging on. Where does this go? Oh, this is the coin door connection. That's clear. All right. And then these harness wires have a little cable tie. And now we should be able to pull that whole thing out. And be careful not to get caught up on anything. And there we go. There is our PCB tray. Again, we'll put this off to the side. All right, next I want to pull the monitor and get that out of there. We've got a grounding strap, or that just goes to that, and This is the remote board for this K7000. I forget exactly which one it is, and it's too dark in here to see. So, disconnecting the monitor power. I'm kind of bunching up the video signal cable just so it doesn't get hung up on anything. And other than that, there's the remote board, and I wonder if I can disconnect the wires of the remote board. How easy that would be. There we go. All right. And we will sort of just tuck this in to the frame by near the chassis. The chassis frame. Okay, that looks good. And in theory, just tuck this in a little bit better. In theory, we should be able to pull the sucker out once we get the glass out of the way. And I think the easiest way to do this was taking that bracket off. So I've got my cordless screwdriver with the socket driver bit. It's not even the bit, it's just sort of the empty socket. Okay, that's good. Carefully remove the glass. Put this right over here. Okay, and how did this come out? Oh yeah, okay. Slide that right out. And so yeah, we just got these 4 bolts that hold everything in. And no, those are not hand tight. Let's see. They shouldn't be on too crazily though. So yeah, isn't that wonderful? My wife was so concerned about all the space I had in the garage that she asked me to bring another game into the house. I couldn't believe it either. What a wonderful wife I have. So let's take these 4 nuts off. And then I'm going to grab gloves just because I've cut my hand too many times pulling monitors out of cabinets. And this is a particularly heavy one, this 25-inch Wells Gardner, and my gloves are right here. Oh, I've been doing so much work, and I know I need to get back to the joust, but I need to make room to work on the joust. So we'll do that. We'll do that soon. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Was I just a stronger man, a younger man when I last moved this thing out? It's it's only been like, what, a month or so. Okay, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm gonna be okay. Holy smokes. That thing is a beast. And they make monitors that are even bigger, believe it or not. Really just right here that I need to make the repair. Hopefully my phone doesn't fall over. It's just this corner, you know, and I really don't want to come in from the sides, but it's totally off. So I might just have to, oh man, I might just have to go through the wood or the outside. Oh, we lost that. Oh no, it's right there. Okay, let's get this one. Just so I don't have these old nails kind of in the way. So yeah, we're gonna have to do this. It seems like a real weak point of the cabinet. My goodness. Let me think about this for a second. I'm definitely gonna put some glue in, but I don't think I can come in this way with the nails, just because it's blocked in a couple places. So I think I have to come this way and also go this way. So we're going to have quite a few nails visible, but they're going to be underneath the overhang of the control panel box. So I'm not super worried about that. All right, it's the next morning. I ran out to Harbor Freight and got a wider clamp. I got a new brad nail gun, and then from Ace Hardware I got the right screws that I need for all of this. So I think we're good to go. I've got it clamped together dry right now before I put wood glue on, just because I want to have everything right in place and aligned so that I can drill these pilot holes for the screws. So I'm going to drill these holes, then I'll put the glue in, then I'll brad nail, reclamp it, brad nail it, screw it, leave it, and it should be good. So, and there's a couple of screws already that a previous owner had put to hold this, bezel crossbar in place on both sides. So, not too worried about that, like ruining the aesthetics. So I'm just going to come in here and drill these pilot holes. All right, here we go. All right, that's the first one. And here comes the second. There we go. And I drilled these holes just to prevent the wood from splitting when I drill the screws in. So now we can release the clamps for a moment. See how it comes right apart. And we can get some wood glue in here. All right. Let's get some paper towel on hand just to deal with any mess that we make. Yeah, you can still see what I'm doing. So I'm using the same wood glue I always do, Titebond 3 Ultimate Wood Glue, super strong. And yeah, we've kind of got several different surfaces here that we want to work some glue into. Now we'll come back in with these clamps. Okay, that looks pretty good. Get this all nice and aligned. All right, I think we're ready. My sort of plan is obviously the 2 screws from here and like 3 or so brad nails just sort of holding these 2 pieces together. So we'll first come in and put one, I think, right here. All right, that's pretty good. And then maybe one here. And one here. And then one up here towards the top. You gotta do it like this. Oh, I can't do it like that. Right up here at the top. All right, now let's come in with these screws and pull it all together. right. And now the larger one. Oh no. I stripped it. Oh my goodness. Okay. I don't know if you could tell what I was doing there, but I really kind of stripped both screws, but this one didn't strip until it was all the way in. This one is a 3-inch screw because it's got to go longer to sort of get through this gap to this past the blocking to get to the piece of wood, and it stripped. So what it ended up doing was using locking grips, whatever they're called, vice grips, to sort of drive it in as far as I could, get it all the way in. And then, you know, sort of heavy duty side cutters or flush cutters to cut it, and then I filed it down so it's not really sharp or anything, almost feels like a nail head. And again, you're never going to see this, so I think that's good. I'm going to call that repair complete. So we're going to let that dry. Okay, what's next? Well, I want to address the control panel like I mentioned, clean up the plexi, clean up the buttons and sticks and all that. And it's got, I don't know, 19 or 20 sort of screws that go around. I had replaced, there were 3 missing. I replaced them before with just some stainless ones. But I bought some, I guess they're black oxide or something like that. Not black oxide, something that will look a lot closer. But in order to take the plexi off, I think I need to take all of the buttons and joysticks off. So let's turn around and take a look at how we do that. Okay. So these have little holders and pal nuts. There we go. All right, and let me actually put this back on before I forget how they were. All right. Now this button will come right off. And these aren't too bad, but we can clean them up a little bit. So I'm going to do, so that's how the buttons go. That's how the buttons come off. All right, we'll do one more. Kind of pull that tab back, it rocks back, and then you can just sort of pull it right off and then undo the pal nut. There we go, the button comes right out. So yeah, let me go do the other 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 more buttons to get all 16 off, and I'll come right back with the joysticks. Okay, I've got all the buttons removed, all 16 or whatever it is, 3 action buttons for each player and a start button for each player, so we're good there. And what I'm going to do is actually disassemble them to make it easier to clean. And the best way I know how to do that is, if it'll focus, you see these got these 2 tabs. I kind of hold it in place. I kind of come in here with needle nose pliers and just sort of work them out. And the whole thing will come apart, and it'll make it easier to see all that grime in there, get in there and clean all of that. So I'll disassemble all of those and then throw them in a big cup of Simple Green and water. I'll probably actually, once I finish my Dunkin' Donuts coffee, I'll rinse this out pretty good and then use this as the cup to soak them. Starting to take apart the joysticks. This one, the Player 2 joystick in particular, had a little bit of hitch, wasn't it smoothest movement, and you can see like the collar of the ball top is really kind of worn down. So we'll give this one a cleaning for sure. And yeah, what else is going on? Oh, so to make my life easy to put this back together, I marked with a Sharpie, and that's why I've got some on my thumb, all of the micro switches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then each one of these has like a R for red, B for blue, and W for white, just to make it easy to put back together and not have to do any real testing. So what I want to do is finish removing the ball tops from the joysticks. And to do that, there is a E-clip here that holds the joystick in place, and you got to be careful because these things want to fly when you remove them. There we go. Okay, and that one, it's interesting. Two of these have, the player 1 and player 2 have a washer behind the E-clip, but player 3 and player 4 just have the E-clip. That's bizarre, okay? This block comes right off, and then the joystick almost needs to be kind of unscrewed. There's a real, like, it's sort of this thing, this, I don't know what this part is even called. That's the tricky part. You got to pull it through all that. And do that without breaking the dust washer. So I guess what I need to do is, at a minimum, detach the joystick assembly from the control panel just to give me access to be able to pull that out, because otherwise it won't come through the plexi. Like the ball top, or bat top actually, is too fat to fit through the opening in the plexi. So we've got to remove it one way or another. I think I am going to disassemble this joystick assembly entirely just to see what's going on in there that's causing a little hitch in our joystick motion. And so we can come off like this and see this little thing is connected, and we can kind of work it off, but it's hard to do. These are filthy. Okay, come on, almost there. And there we go. So I'm going to do the other two joysticks, and then I'll show you where I am at that point. All right, all the buttons have been disassembled and the joysticks taken apart. And yeah, it turns out that my coffee cup was nowhere near big enough for all those buttons and joystick bat tops. So I had been holding on to this plastic bin that I got from Costco, these Milano cookies that my wife likes. I've been holding on to it for a while, and it's working out great to sort of have all that stuff in here. And this is just basically a 50-50 mixture of, you know, full strength, simple green, and warm water. So we'll just let that sit and soak for a few hours, and every once in a while I'll just agitate it a little bit just to make sure everything's getting coated. And you can already see bits of things coming loose in there, so that'll be good. And yeah, last thing I want to do here for right now is take apart this joystick, if you can see what I'm seeing. Take apart player 2's joystick and just see if there's anything going on in there. I grabbed all the metal parts and threw them in this. You know, you can throw this in the simple green solution, but sometimes it's just more trouble than it's worth, and it's not like there's, you know, rust or anything on them. So in order to take the joystick apart, I do have to take the leaf switches off. I marked them again, up, down, left, and right, just so I know what I'm doing when I put it back together. Okay. And now we've got this piece here, the inner workings of the joystick assembly with these 4 larger screws. I can see all the dust and kind of plastic powder already coming off. And there's something spring-loaded on the inside, so don't want to let this kind of explode. All right. Yeah, look at that. Big old giant spring. Okay, and yeah, you know, I'm going to toss this in. Is there another? Yeah, just the parts in my hand. I'll clean, actually we'll toss this in to the, into the Simple Green bath. We'll just add a bit more Simple Green. Stuff is pretty mild. And it's cheap. So this is not quite a seal. Like, I wouldn't want to hold this thing upside down, but you know, just makes it a bit more, I don't know. Oh, and I didn't even put the spring in. Here we go. So yeah, nice little bin for soaking stuff. Yeah, it's dripping a little bit, but we'll let that get a good soak. Wipe my hands off a little bit. Yeah, this is more work than I was expecting, and maybe that's why nobody had done this before. Let me stick all these screws back in this bag before I lose them. So yeah, I think we're ready to take the plexi off. Spin the whole thing around without knocking over the camera or the Simple Green wash. All right, and you can see I replaced these 3 screws already, but we're going to take them all off now and get them ready to go in this bag. See, I think there's 19 of them, so let's take them off. All right, all the screws are off, and the plexi should just come right off. Here we go. And yeah, look how filthy that is. Put that off to the side just for a second. Let's take a look at the control panel overlay. This has some grime kind of all over, but looks pretty good for the most part. So I'm just going to come in here with a spray bottle of Simple Green, and we will get this grossness all cleaned up. I don't want to go too crazy just because, you know, the harness is exposed underneath, but here we go. Yeah, it comes right off, all that gunk. Look at that. Just a little bit of cleaning. Whatever this was, soda that had been spilled, or just a little bit of gunk. Just a little bit of gunk. Clean this dust washer. And I think this is captive. This can't be removed without taking the control panel overlay off. So we'll do our best just to kind of move it around and clean it up just a little bit. Yeah, look how well that's cleaning up already. That plexi really did its job. Yeah, and I'm not even scrubbing hard. Yeah, this is coming out great. Whoa. Just finished cleaning this up. That's looking great. All right, I'm gonna get this spick and span, and we'll get into all the dust washers, and I'll come back in a second. And welcome to my laundry room. In here, I'm going to use this wash basin to rinse off all the buttons and everything and scrub them a little bit. So I've got an old toothbrush. I'm going to turn on some hot water and yeah, we'll scrub these buttons up. So I'll just do a couple on camera. Sorry if the lighting is less than ideal. One thing to point out is the bat top. I don't know if this is showing up. Has some, you know, I don't know what you would call this. The plastic reacted a little bit, so it's getting a bit white, and cloudy. But I've got a way to handle that, no problem. So let me just grab one of these sort of button tops, and we'll just scrub it a little bit, just to make sure any of the grime is gotten rid of. Yeah, I'll turn on the hot water. And I can always just dip it back into the solution. We'll get a good scrub going. And we'll get these clean in no time. So how's that look? Nice and clean. And got like the button housings. Just get in here. Make sure we get all that gunk out. That looks pretty good. And I've got like the joystick assembly or base, whatever you want to call it. Again, we're just getting in here because this was the one that had that sort of hitch in the throw. Just wasn't a smooth throw. So again, just come in here, and I don't know if this is what was causing it, but just in case it helps. Get that all cleaned up. And I'm looking in, and like it's kind of worn a little bit, but we'll take a closer look once it's all dry. And we've got the PAL nuts in here. Again, these don't really need to be cleaned all that much, but hey, never hurts. And we've got the, where are they? The button, I don't know what you would call this, not really a grommet. I don't know what the right term for that is. And where are the corkscrew things? Huh. Yeah, these guys. These were nasty. This is the sort of plastic spacer or retainer piece. It's not really a screw, it just has these kind of, I don't know. It looks like a screw, although it's not like a helix. So we'll get all this cleaned up, and then I'll show you what it's looking like when we're drying them. All right, so all of the parts have been scrubbed and rinsed nice and thoroughly. So I've got them out here to dry. And while we're waiting for them to dry, we're going to address this sort of mess that we have on the bat top joysticks. And really what these are is little teeny tiny scratches, right? That reacted to the Simple Green. So what I'm going to do is polish the plastic. And yes, you can polish plastic. There are plastic polishes. A very common one to use is called Novus. Novus is a 3-step system. Novus 3 is the heaviest abrasive. That's for really deep scratches. Novus 2 is what you see most commonly for fine scratches. And then there's Novus 1, which is really just to shine things up. So what I'm going to do is, to make things easy, is put the joystick into my drill, okay? Then I'm going to take a microfiber cloth and I will put some Novus right in there. All right, it's probably more than enough. And what I'm going to do is, we're going to get this all around and really just use the drill to accelerate the polishing process, like this. And it can get a bit warm, so be careful. And it is already getting a little hot, so I'm going to put a glove on my hand for this process. All right. Okay, let's put a little bit more polish on the cloth. And yeah, let it do its magic. You can already see it's getting a little bit better. So I'm going to keep working at this. I'll show you the results at the end. And this one's kind of interesting. I don't know if I think this is the Player 2 stick. It almost looks like it was broken off and super glued back on. So I'll pay close attention to that. So yeah, let me continue polishing this and I'll see what we get. All right, next day, everything is nice and dry and I'm ready to start reassembling the control panel. Things came out pretty well with the joystick bat tops, especially with the red ones. Look how much nicer that is. You know, it's still not perfect, but yeah. 30 years old, so what do you expect? I ran into a bit of an issue with one of actually both of the blue ones. This one, I don't know if you can really tell, but at one point the microfiber cloth and the joystick started to get fused together, probably from extreme heat. So I had to come in with some Novus 3 and really get those scratches off. And you can kind of, if you catch the light right, see a little bit of a banding still there. And this other one, which is one that looks like it's been repaired with crazy glue, it's a little bit uneven. And I really didn't want to go crazy on this one. This one will probably be the first one to be replaced. So yeah, not perfect, but that's fine. First step is to get the plexi back onto the control panel. And before I do that, I want to do one last cleaning, and I'm going to use Novus 1. So I used Simple Green to get all the sort of grime off, which is good to cut that grease or whatever. But it can leave a bit of a film or whatnot. You don't really want to use Windex on plexiglass because that can make it cloudy. So I'm just going to use Novus 1, which is good for cleaning plastic, and it's anti-fog, you know, that sort of thing. So just a little spray here, and we'll wipe this down. And this really isn't a polish, Novus 1. Novus 2 and 3 are definitely polishes to take scratches out and that sort of thing. But Novus 1 is really just a cleaner, I think. It looks pretty good. There's a little bit of cracking in this plexi around some of the screw holes, but it's not that bad, and it's not worth replacing it in any case. So we just get this out of the way for a second. Here's our control box. Everything wants to fall apart. That's okay. All right. That's all looking good. Let's get the plexi onto it. And it goes on like so. All right, that looks good. Let me find my bag of screws, and I can just come in here using a combination of the originals and the replacements, a few replacements that I needed. And let me do the replacements first, because I think I remember where those went. And I ended up getting a slightly larger size of screw just so it would work in the hole. I think these were originally like a 6, a number 6. So number 8 is really what's needed to kind of hold them in there. Don't want to over tighten and crack the plexi. There we go, or strip the hole. Strip the wood. So that's good. So those are 3 replacement screws. And I'll just come in here with the rest and screw it all down. All right, I got all the screws in. I think we're ready to go. We'll start reassembling the joysticks, and I'll grab one of the red ones here. And what do we need? One of those like corkscrew looking thingamajigs. And I guess I don't really know which way it goes, but I'm assuming it goes with this sort of beveled concave shape outwards, like, or shape down like that. So we come in like this. This goes on like here. Then what do we do? All right. What are we hung up on? We caught on something? You gotta feed it through this. There we go. And this goes here, and one player goes there. Yep. So I think that's right. Are we all the way in? Yeah, we gotta push in. Is that right? I think that's right. Is that right? Yeah, I think so. So let me grab some screws. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Yeah, okay. And I'll just dump these screws out here. I believe these are all the same. I don't know what some of those go to. Uh-oh. We'll get it all figured out. So, line up the, I guess technically these are bolts. There's some sort of anchor or T-nut or something in the wood that holds these in place. All right. Just one more screw, and we can tighten them all down. There we go. Get them all snug. Okay, that's looking good. And now I think, remember these didn't have, only 2 of them had washers, but I feel like a washer is necessary. So let me go grab, am I forgetting something? Yes, yes. How come you guys didn't tell me? You didn't remind me. We forgot this piece, which goes on like that. And this is the part that actuates the, it's It's a stress position bending over like that. This is the part that actuates the micro switches. So let me grab some washers from my box full of parts. Yeah, that'll work. So that's good. And this black one. So I don't have any other matching ones. So we'll put the flat washer on, and then we've got to sort of compress it and get the... Is there an easy way to do this without making it fly into oblivion? Find my needle nose pliers here. This is, you know, spring loaded because there's a spring in there that holds the everything in place. Looks like I need 3 hands for this. All right, let me try to get this on and I'll come right back. All right, I got the player 1, 3, and 4 joysticks, you know, put back together and remounted onto the control panel. So I need to reassemble the player 2 joystick assembly, which is a couple of extra steps because I took it completely apart. So I think this is how it goes. Spring goes here. There's sort of a wider end and a narrow end. The narrower end won't really fit over this sort of plastic piece, so I think that goes on like that. And then this piece goes onto the spring with the sort of, I don't know, plug part sticking out of the bottom. That's how the other ones were. And then we kind of compress it all like so. And then these 4 screws hold that assembly together, and it's spring loaded, so it's a bit tricky. So get that most of the way, and then I'll get this side. It kind of clicks together, but needs the screws to hold it in. All right. Now these other 2 should go on a bit easier. Famous last words, right? All right. This is the one that had that sort of click. I don't know if I've fixed it, but short of replacing the joystick, I think it's about as much as I can do. All right. All right, that's in there. Centered. Okay, just looking at it, I think we're in decent shape. So we can come through like this and then put our, I keep wanting to call this a corkscrew, some kind of collar piece. Come in like this. And now I can mount it back on to the control panel. It's easier to do without the micro switches in the way, which I had to take off to take the whole thing apart. All right, you know, all of this was a lot more work than I was expecting, which maybe I shouldn't be surprised since it's, you know, 4 entire sets of controls, 4 joysticks, 4 start buttons, 3 action buttons per player. So Let me get the actuator on, and then we've got the washer and E-clip. Let me see if I can do this on camera without damaging anything. It's just such a pain with this spring, and there's not like a great place to like grip it and hold on. I'm going to slide this over. Then this wants to slide. The joystick comes out. There we go. Now, we should hopefully be able to get the E-clip just to kind of start to bite in. There we go. And then our needle nose pliers. Hopefully you can see what I'm struggling with here. Here we go. Look at that. Fourth time was the easiest one. All right, that's good. I'm not feeling that sort of clickiness. A smooth throw now. Move it all around, up, down, left, right. Nice smooth throw. Not feeling that hitch anywhere, which was really a left to right sort of issue. So I think we're good. Last thing to do is put the buttons back together. So for each button, I need the 2 halves of the button, and I need 1 spring. So I'll just go like this. And I don't think there's a direction for this. Load the spring into that part. Kind of pull the spring back a little bit so it gets out of the way. And line it up, pop it through. So now we got our button. I'll do one more. Just again, really simple. 2 button halves and a spring. Put the spring in the top half. Push it down a little bit. And then kind of line it up. Get it started. Pass a little. There we go. And it should just pop through. There we go. All right. And then all we need is a PAL nut. We'll push this through. We'll get the PAL nut started. And then this is the player 1 because I marked it that way. And it should kind of just walk on. And there we go. So now I can tighten down the PAL nut. I don't want it to twist too much. And hand tight is perfect. So there's our player 1 start button. I'll do one more on camera, and then I'll do the rest on my own. Button in. Come on. PAL nut started. We'll align it to fit in. All right, switches on it. Hand tighten the PAL nut. And there we go. 2 buttons down. 14 more to go. I'll be right back. All right, 1 NBA Jam control panel completely reassembled. Everything looks pretty good. All the buttons seem to be working, and joysticks, everything's moving nice and easy. I believe all the connections are solid. I did go back and look at one of the previous video segments just to double check that I had the right colors and the right button spots, and I think we're good to go. So let's take one quick look over here at the cabinet and see how we made out here. Everything should be nice and dry. I did end up throwing a couple more brads here, so we have 8 brad nails going from the face into this cleat, and then the 2 screws going from the side in. So let's just remove the clamps and take a look at what we've got. Yeah, that seems nice and solid. That's not going anywhere. And yeah, I had to cut off the head of the screw, but it's not all that sharp or anything, so not worried about that. So, all right, let's think about this. Unless I'm forgetting something, I think we are ready to bring this cabinet down into the basement and put it back together. So I'm going to move it with just a cabinet. I'll even take the back door off, I think, to make it nice and light. We'll bring the monitor down and the control panel. I've already moved the game PCB board, sled, tray, whatever you want to call it, into the basement. So yeah, let's move it all down there and put it all back together. All right, here's the moment of truth. I've got everything plugged in, connected. I got a surge protector set up for the game to be plugged into. Yeah, I don't know if you saw when I took off the back door because I realized I forgot to plug in the power supply. So nothing would work without that. So anyway, okay. We first turn on the surge protector. And now turn on the game. I hear HV. We have the game sound. All right. Screen looks like it's bouncing just a tiny bit. Our blue is a little high. I think it was like that before. All right. Game's working. Let's see. It's too loud. All right. Let's do a couple of things. Let's test all the buttons. I don't think I can do the colors. I don't think I can do the colors from the remote board. Okay, from the test menu here, I want to check all the buttons. Switch test. Let's see, start. All right. All right, all those buttons are good. I'm not going to worry about the rest. Start 1 and start 2 to exit. I think all that's good. Let's see, monitor patterns. All right. Red looks a little overdriven. Let's adjust our position. position. There we go. And I don't know if you can see this. Oh, my size is a little off. Let's change that vertical size. And vertical position. And, okay. And it's not so visible when the room lights are on, but we'll turn the lights off and get rid of other light sources. I don't know, even on this screen. And now that it's maybe warmed up, it's not as visible, but there's definitely some issues with the colors. So let me turn off the game. We'll pull it away from the wall a little bit, and so I can open the back door and get to the color adjustments on the monitor. Okay, I messed with the color settings and everything quite a bit, and I think this is pretty good. We can get to the color bars here, and I'm pretty happy with how that's looking. So, yeah, I think we're in good shape. It's nice and bright. Mess with the focus pot a bit, and I think we're pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this. So, yeah, let me button everything up, close it up, push it back against the wall, and we'll wrap up the video. All right, and there we go. NBA Jam is in the basement, ready to play, and it looks great down here. And I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but my long-term plan is to turn this room into the arcade. Take over what's now the kids' playroom, maybe move their stuff into the current arcade, and I can, now that I'm sort of seeing it in here, I don't think I can fit 25 games in here. No way, especially how big the NBA Jam is. Certainly more than I can in my current arcade room, but maybe more like 15 or 20 tops, but we'll figure out how to maximize the space. We'll put some additional, I don't know, 20 amp circuits in here, and we'll be good to go. So I just have to slowly convince my wife that that's the way to go. So why don't we play a quick game? I am going to leave this on free play in here, just because, you know, when my 4 kids are playing, the thought of each of them putting in 4 quarters for a full game, and then maybe another for overtime, and I think the sort of default setting is 2 coins to start and 2 to continue. So 50 cents per quarter, and that's way too much. I'll be emptying that coin bucket way too fast. But it's on free play. We'll not save our settings. And let's see, we'll pick Boston. So we've been having a great basketball season in our house. So Celtics is our favorite team, and they are doing really well. Second in the Eastern Conference right now. And the colors are still not quite right. Might have to mess with that a little bit. Our favorite college basketball team, UConn, is in the Final Four, and I think they're favored to win at this point. And let's see. So that would be great. The UConn women lost, so that's too bad. Yeah, so doing good NBA and college-wise. There we go. And for the kids, my youngest had his by far his best season ever. They went undefeated. We're really only threatened in 2 games, And there we go. He won his championship, so his first ever championship in sports, so that's great. And my, goaltending. My older kid, they did okay. They were a bit above 500, definitely a lower seed in the playoffs, but they went on a tear, sort of upset 2 or 3 teams, and they made it to their finals and unfortunately lost, but my son was the leading scorer in the finals, so that was pretty great. Oh, ugly. Oh, it went in, okay. So yeah, we've had a great basketball season in the house, and now the kids are really gonna enjoy playing NBA Jam a lot more often than they were in the garage. Oh, I'll have to get this back. There we go. There we go. The kids have been loving playing this. They've been, my youngest. Oh no. Oh no, now we're down by 3. Okay. Yeah, my youngest is just starting to read. All right, there we go. Oh, that was on the foot on the line. Oh, there we go. There we go. Nope. What a bounce. So yeah, my youngest is reading, or just starting to read, and he can read that, NBA Jam. So yeah, I think that'll do it for this episode of Overtime Arcade. Way much longer than I thought it would be. But gosh, I am happy that we got this down to the basement. And none of this was particularly hard, just a lot of tedious work to get it ready to come down into the basement. And boy, am I glad it's here. So thanks for watching. Thanks for all the likes, comments, shares, subscriptions. If you've watched this whole video and you haven't subscribed, now would be a great time to subscribe. You clearly enjoy this content. So yeah, again, thanks for watching Overtime Arcade. I'm Charlie, and I'll see you next time.
Overtime!